All right. Just gotta test a few things real quick, and we're gonna be on stream for real. We just gotta see on my side real quick, on my laptop. I mean, it's a nice little starting soon screen. I love the way this looks. I'm not gonna lie, but everything just yes, sir. Everything's working. How about this? Oh, man. All right. Okay. Pretty much what we did a lot of stuff. Honestly, I went to work for a few hours. I'm back. Of course, here I am. I went to ChatGPT and it gave me quite a bit of information. Excuse me, quite a bit of information. And honestly, I gotta tell you, it's pretty nice. But with Notion though, I mean, when we go into Notion real quick, it'll be nice if this was a larger scale project. It's cool, right? But then when we're thinking about it, it's like, first off, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's only when I start seeing issues and problems and stuff is when I should start fixing it. Everything functions as it's supposed to. I don't gotta do all this yet. Second off, though, ain't nobody care. Notion, we don't even need Notion yet. We actually finished Notion the way it was supposed to be. Like with this and creating a goal, I can literally preview and then make a goal as me. I wanted to assign anyone else, I can do that. It's not that crazy. Oh, shoot. And I mean, everything is still here. I mean, the only thing I would really want to change is this, but it's inspirational. I mean, I can just hide the description though, but still, like, it's not that crazy. We're actually going to delete that page and we're going to delete this page. What I did want to make is like, okay, if this is done, like if it's canceled or closed or something, then we hide it or something like that. And then we can show it in like the repository. I think that'll be nice. But again, that can be for later, like when we're doing more. But for right now, that's not the case. We don't need this workflow. I'll definitely come back to this, but for right now, at this moment, we have other things to figure out. And one of the first things is the fact that I was fascinated by their veil system. Like the way they did that, I was very familiar with, and I'm gonna pull up the video actually. I'm gonna go straight onto my personal account, go to YouTube, and show you exactly what I'm talking about. I mean,
between a dictator taking.
Oh, that's loud. It wasn't even their most popular video. It was the stupid turning Minecraft into a train murder game. Or saving a Minecraft SMP from corruption with mods. Why is this like a mid video compared to all of his other stuff? Coding a custom Minecraft horror dimension to keep a secret, but turning Minecraft into a space exploration game, like this looks lame. It's cool, but this for real?
Space.
Space.
Everybody has some sort of fascination with it. It's vast.
Yeah, of course everybody has a fascination with it because I do too. But still, out of point, he messes with veil, and I want to talk about this system real quick. While I'm doing this, don't demonetize me, YouTube. Look. Planets. This is literally one of the things I was fascinated with. You can objectify each planet and have different things. Texture. You have the texture of a planet, the radius, the position. Then you have the atmosphere, the size, the fall off, the density, the scatter coefficients, the brightness factor, the density factor.
Maybe the Earth needs a moon as well.
I mean, still, look at that. All right. Isn't that crazy that you can just do that? And he has space mod textures. We're just gonna have to think about that and figure it out later. We don't need to right now at this moment. But with Veil, you have planets. The editor is right there, and you have planets and like this whole UI system in Minecraft, of course. So I was like, I asked ChatGPT. I know I'm a creative thinker, don't get me wrong. um, I was like, what I said word for word, I gotta blow my nose, and then I'll talk about this real quick because I kind of came up with something that's that's really crazy. First off, I asked ChatGPT what it knew about Veil because I knew this was a rendering engine, and it clarified this in the video. But I was like, I know that they use a mod called Veil, but I've been confused if it was a rendering engine or a game engine for Minecraft. What would its purpose serve in this project? And they pretty much really decently spoke about these things. Veil serves this exact purpose and everything like that. It can't be done with regular like shaders or with Optifine or Iris or Sodium or something like that. And then they talk about what Veil does specifically in this project. The blue atmosphere glows, sunsets with multiple light wavelengths, subtle luminosity gradients, planetary limb light. Like, he talks about everything. What Veil does not do, it's not a physics engine, a world gen engine, a scripting system, a gameplay API, a text system framework, and any AI engine. It doesn't control a whole bunch of things, but they said that these are handled by the custom project code, possibly certain users, possibly aeronautics, the mod loader itself, Fabric or Quilt, or just Minecraft's game engine. Then Veil only touches rendering. So I pretty much just was like, you know what? In watching the programming in Veil, demonstrate an object-oriented programming structure, which could create and customize a variety of lighting effects, which is exactly what it does here. I would like to know if there's a similar type of engine out there, but for gameplay mechanics and general game design structure that could work well for this project if it exists. ChatGPT instantly gave me a compliment. Nice, you're thinking about this in exactly the right way. Veil, but for gameplay instead of rendering. Short answer, it doesn't exist. Great, thanks ChatGPT. But he says that there are a few frameworks and patterns that come close to what you're describing. There's component and data-driven frameworks for player state systems and abilities, which is mostly what we're looking for. Capability component APIs for attaching behavior to entities or blocks, like for NPCs, for example, or for weapons. And then general purpose game logic libraries inside of Fabric and Quilt ecosystems. The closest thing that you can get with this is something called Cardinal Components API. And you say, think of Cardinal Components as a gameplay state backbone. Lets you attach modular components or objects. That's a very big clarification for what I'm going to describe in a second. And you can attach those things to players, entity chunks, worlds, items, and each component can hold data, logic, serialization, and sorts of other data and stuff like that. You can define a whole variety of different things. And they say this is very similar in spirit to Veil's objects that define lighting behaviors, except here the objects define gameplay behaviors and states. Exactly what's going on here. So Veil, with size, fall off density, scatter coefficients, brightness factors, and density factors, all this stuff affects exactly what's going on in the rendering pipeline. And all these things affect how the moon, in this case, with the texture of the moon, looks. Imagine having a system very similar to that, but for the game design and logic in Minecraft itself. Now you can attach different states and mods to players, so then they have their own different things going on. And they've already done this eventually in the mod, but I want to be familiar with this concept because more likely than not, they probably use Cardinal Components anyway. So it's pretty cool. Capabilities and components for attaching behaviors. On Neoforge and Forge, the equivalent concept is capabilities. On Fabric and Quilt is cardinal components, data trackers, and event buses. The pattern you want is this. I define systems that read and write components, not hard-coded logic all over the place. Pretty much saying you want to make components that encapsulate different things, not a whole bunch of logic that like is scattered all over everywhere. You want to abstract, and that's nice. For example, instead of pulling oxygen logic in every they use the example with oxygen logic in this thing, but it's not something that I want relevant. Um, I mean, they instead of putting this certain logic in every class, you can make a component that's attached to a certain entity, and then that's the class. It's exactly the kind of separation Veil uses. Data object is coincides and works well with the system that interprets it. So the same thing with any game design, because I'm coming from, this is Creative Realm Games. This is a company that I made from game designing. This is literally a game design company that I made for this stuff. So thinking about it like this, right? I'm familiar with the object-oriented programming. And this is why I say object classes, objects. Object-oriented programming is centered around classes. Every programming language has this, all right? Or every common programming language. I mean, you're not using like COBOL or something like that. The one that made or like the X64 or whatever. We're not making computers, all right? You can do that in Minecraft, but we're not doing that today, okay? We're doing something completely different. Now, what we can do is get some libraries and frameworks that are handy for turning everything into a clean modular quote-unquote engine like Veil. Of course, this is a rendering pipeline engine, quote-unquote, and encapsulates a whole bunch of different principles and properties and stuff like that. You can use Fabric API. It's not fancy, but it gives you a whole bunch of different things. You can combine this with Cardinal components to get a pretty robust gameplay framework. And then Apollyon Origins is a data-driven ability engine that's used with JSON and not Java classes. It wires into events and components under the hood. It's pretty nice. You can use game rule and rule APIs. I mean, this is the stuff with like Minecraft commands. They're like, how to make your own Veil-like gameplay engine. Here's a structure that will work insanely well for a space mechanics project. They give a whole bunch of different ideas and things like that, like core concepts. Then they break it down to data-driven definitions, like different like IDs or air pressure or gravity, like things that you would have in the game that lines it up exactly like this as values or as ranges of values. I mean, this is a vector, of course. This is a vector for position and for scatter coefficients and stuff like that. They also have a table of strings, like the different types of hazards that you can grab and probably use. So it's pretty nice. I mean, your class would load it and everything would work fine. You can also get event bus integration. Your engine could hook into WorldTick and run the environment systems and everything like that I explained, and update with the player ticks. The dimension changes can reevaluate the plant environment, and the item use can trigger tech or unlock systems. And Fabric's event hooks and cardinal components gives you all the plumbing for stuff like that, is what ChatGPT says. My ChatGPT I always say he. I don't know why. I just do. But my concrete answer to everything ChatGPT describes is that there's a similar type of engine out there, but for gameplay mechanics and general game design structure that could. Oh, they quote, "Is there a similar type of engine out there, but for gameplay mechanics and general game design structure that could work well for this project?" He pretty much quoted my saying. He says that there isn't a single drop in Veil for gameplay, but the closest equivalents in the Minecraft modding system are those things. And Cardinal Components API is one of those. Everything is out here. The combo of those things is your Veil for gameplay. Is there. And I said, all right, there's no like encapsulated mod, huh? But they describe pretty much what's going on, how this works and stuff, blah, 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 blah. All right. And I talk about performance, and with Veil, I'm sure that this is a very rushed out project, and they don't have performance. They have beefy computers. Everybody did. The YouTubers did for sure. So I'm sure that they didn't consider things like occlusion culling or LODs or abstraction. I was like, what's that going to look like, right? Like, what if someone's coming in with a crappy computer like mine, for example? And they're like, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I think that this should be what happens. But I also described like what are these things looking like in Veil Engine. It's a little side question. I went on side quest. I was at work. All right, I was distracted. So after all that, I pretty much said that we need to backtrack to the general idea of everything. I pretty much said that I need a general idea of what stuff to familiarize myself with, so then when I'm making mods in conjunction with this project, I don't have to switch to completely different systems. Because I don't have the mod project yet. I'm going to purchase it with Patreon, or I'm going to wait until it's fully released and then see exactly what's going to happen. But I want to make things that work in conjunction with it first. So I said I don't have to switch to, so I don't have to switch to completely different systems. Blah blah blah. What should that look like for me? Focusing on more of a gameplay style project, because that's not what they're making. Now I watched the stream and they kind of are. But they're not going to do the traditional American way of like killing everything and then you're good. Like, it's going to be based off of something different. And they said that they don't want like a survival experience either. But I want survival and I want killing things. And it's like, it's whatever. And probably not centered around just killing things, but survival is 100% what I want to center around. He said, perfect. All right. We've explored everything. We can finally build the roadmap of skills and concepts to learn before you get access to the mod pack. You want to become fluent in the same style of mod architecture that this project uses, but focused on gameplay mechanics instead of visuals. Because, you know, my computer can handle it, so it's whatever. Once I buy my graphics component, that's when I would plan on purchasing this project as well. But it's whatever. Oh, 3 blue, 1 brown. Ooh, I want to see this. I'm going to watch this real quick. Hold on. This is the guy. This is the guy.
The most common question I get about 3 blue, 1 brown is, what do I use to animate the videos?
That's crazy. That's crazy. He sounds like he's a robot. He's a robot. He's an android. All right. With the platform. Okay, let's go back to what we were talking about. ADHD. Holy crap. I am so sorry, guys. Matter of fact, I'm just going to take this off. Gone. All right. Now they say that this is most definitely Fabric or quilt based. I know it's built in Fabric. I mean, it was obvious since the very beginning of the project. They even said it. So you should be comfortable with mod initialization, registries, blocks, items, attributes, mentions, events with ticks, world load, entity, join, etc. Basic networking in Fabric, and JSON data packs and resource packs. Why? This is the backbone of every mod that will interact with RFTS or reaching for the stars. Quilt is optional but very good to know. Now ChatGPT makes this assumption because they looked at the credit section and said, okay, well, these guys are the ones that are familiar with Quilt and stuff like that. I don't know how he knows that, but it's crazy. But I said, even if you stick to Fabric, Quilt is almost identical. This project contributors come from the Quilt ecosystem. I don't know how he knows that. So knowing QSL, the Quilt standard libraries, and minor API differences may come in handy. Component-based data systems, your gameplay engine spine. This is the big one. He says, excuse me, Cardinal Components AI or API is something you need to learn deeply. It allows you to attach custom data, custom logic, and persistent state on the players, NPCs, blocks, items, entities, worlds, and chunks. You'll use it for a variety of different things in this project, and this is pretty much what your gameplay engine, quote unquote, is. Once you understand these components, you can build almost anything in a clean way. The third thing ChatGPT says is events, game loops, and tick-based systems. Gameplay mods rely on a whole variety of different things that I just explained later with the world ticks, player ticks, entity events, block interaction, blah, blah, blah. Knowing how to listen for those events and trigger mechanics is essential. And then OOP structure and design patterns, Veil style architecture. OOP is object-oriented programming, by the way, what I'm describing before. He said this project is object-oriented and modular. You should feel comfortable with these things, which I am. I'm a game designer. I made this company for game design. This keeps your gameplay systems flexible, just like Veil keeps its rendering modular. Integration with other mods and API consumption. You often want to plug into a whole bunch of other things like NPC mods, physics mods, world gen mods, tech, automation mods, UI, UHD. UI, did I just say UHD? HUD. And you want to practice reading mod APIs, reacting to other mods events, soft dependencies like mod menu or fabric loader conditionals, and mix-ins only when necessary. This prepares you for integrating with the project's custom systems, because there's going to be a whole variety of those things as well. Physics and movement systems, if you want flying ships or EVA systems. I'm not going to do that because they're going to make that themselves. There's different ways that they could tackle it, but I know that they're going to keep the block structure. It's almost given at this point. They're going to have to find some sort of genius that makes sense. And I'm going to leave them to it because it's not my concern. But we do need basic dimension environment knowledge. I feel like that's a given as well. I mean, they can definitely render more and more planets, but if we wanted to make our project more expandable with planets and stuff like that too, then we need to expand our stuff as well. So it's a given, you know. Game balance and designer skills, it's underappreciated but vital since I'm making gameplay. But I already know this. I complain about games all the time, so I feel like I know what I'm doing. And I've said like for 2 hours straight yapping about everything. I made my first stream discussing about future plans just because I wanted to say something. Data-driven design, your biggest advantage. I know this, of course. Networking and sync, the hidden necessity. Gameplay heavy mods require syncing player stats, syncing ship states, syncing NPC trust, mission progress. I feel like I can figure that out. But Fabric's networking API is simple but powerful. And then debugging. Oh Lord, debugging. For gameplay heavy mods, memory leaks, runaway tick loops, missync states, broken world gen reactions, event spam, infinite recursion. Those are all very common pitfalls with Minecraft modders. I need to learn to use different things like Spark Profiler, Minecraft Dev Console, custom debug commands, and logging best practices. This saves your sanity, is what he says. He literally says, this saves your sanity. Thank you, ChatGPT. I'm glad you care about me. Study the skills you should focus on, the simplified curriculum, quote unquote. Says exactly that you need Fabric API, Cardinal Components API, event listeners and tick systems, OOP design patterns, I already know that. Modular architecture, I already know that. JSON-driven configs, I somewhat know that based off of save files in Unity, but I wasn't fully immersed in that. I didn't understand fully, but I feel like I can figure it out. And then client server networking. I mean, from Roblox, from all my other games, there's multiplayer, but we're gonna have to figure that out as well. You should learn as dimension, environment detection, attribute modification, integration with other mods, soft dependency, and NPC AI basics. And nice to learn things is physics basics, custom GUIs and HUDs, recipe tech tree systems, custom status effects, custom commands, sorts of stuff like that. That's pretty much the end of the chat, honestly. But reach for the stars is crazy. What I do want to do, though, of course, first is learn about Cardinal Components API and Fabric API. And honestly, this is just going to encapsulate a lot of time. I'm kind of here to just make those call outs, make those developments, because I am definitely going to take a sleep, a rest. And I cannot stream the videos that I use, but I can stream my progress and explain every single part along the way, and dig deeper into what I've learned. But I cannot by any means stream the videos itself. So I'm going to get my mic off real quick. I know it's going to be kind of loud, but there we go. All right. The end of the day is pretty much that. Once I wake up tomorrow morning, the plan is that I dig deep into different APIs, figure something out, and just have some fun. This is pretty much serving as an archive, not only for anyone else that wants to look at it, but for me. I can download these videos, I can use it for editing, I can like do a whole bunch of different things, and it's just nice, I think. Hold on, I need to blow my nose. I'm breathing through my mouth so much, I can't even. Been shoveling too much snow. Whew. All right. So basically, what I'm saying is that tomorrow morning we're gonna get straight into it with Cardinal components and the Fabric API. I feel like those are gonna be the two main ones that I try and learn with Fabric mod. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do. I haven't had much experience with Minecraft modding itself, but to be able to make something work and make something happen, it'd be pretty cool. Veil is the rendering pipeline, but Cardinal Components is the Minecraft world pipeline. It's the game pipeline. There's a difference. It's like the server client thing, right? There's different differences and different things to translate between the render pipeline and the game pipeline. And I am almost certain that they can also communicate with each other. I'm very certain they could. There might be different ways that we can make a system that communicates between these two. And it might be smart for those the developers who are having troubles with like, oh, how do you render the spaceship far away, even though it's made out of blocks? Well, Cardinal Components deals with blocks and entities and rendering and stuff like that as well. You have the blocks and entities shown on the client side and have properties for this player, but you actually, for all other players, show the rendering entity on Veil. And you can use rendering entities on Veil that move around and all sorts of other things to make systems. I mean, they made the 1.2 million cobblestone blocks as the Saturn's rings. I'm sure they can handle something. But for those two pipelines to communicate to each other, you can make a spaceship entity that is made through 3D modeling and have different, like, of course, have different types of spaceships already made, you know, different types of things that the players can set and have them fly around and be there. And even have like text highlights that say this is where this spaceship is. Have a navigation system because you're not going to tell otherwise, right? All this stuff is there. So, hey, right? That's something that they can think about, but there's like 30 times the genius in those three guys than there are in me. A very small fraction of genius. And I'm just looking at Chat GPT and AI and stuff like that to get ideas. But real development is going to come from YouTube videos and through me. If I created it all by myself, I'd make myself look like an idiot. Okay, let's be for real. YouTube has came in clutch so much. And I mean, without it, I'd be nowhere. I'd be nothing. But hey, we're going to figure something out. We're going to make sure that I'm going to at least make sure, of course, I get a stream in tomorrow just to describe everything that I've learned and all the things that I've done, or maybe even take some screenshots and then show those things. And like, oh, this is what I did. This is what I did here. This is what I did there. It's pretty cool. Stuff like that. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, yada. I need to be done talking. We finished Notion, pretty much. I'm done. I don't even care. If I want to make a workflow of Notion, I have something. I mean, honestly, it is so much better than nothing. And I think it looks great. All right. I think I'm going to get the hang of it really quickly. It's got a timeline. It's got a timeline, man. So it's pretty cool. Just as long as we have something that's done, you know, something that makes sense. So it's gonna be cool. Otherwise, really, I ain't got nothing. So thank you all for watching this stream. Again, I like to thank people. I'm just gonna head off to bed, get me some good night's rest, and let's come back tomorrow morning with some energy, some vigor, and let's get going. You know, I feel like this is something that I'm gonna definitely be eager to interact with and figure out. But we're at that 30-minute mark. I think I should probably end the stream sooner than later.